Okay, hello guys and welcome back to Chris Flies Planes. Chris here of course, and today we are starting a new series. Now this is going to be kind of a hybrid series, a bit of a tutorial series as well as a playthrough of the Mirage 2000c campaign in DCS. We are here in the first mission. Let's get going. Let's jump into the cockpit here. I'm just going to pull up a briefing for you guys. It's very simple. We're an F-15 or maybe like an A-10 pilot. Oh yeah, F-15C pilot. We've been sent over to the Balkans in Georgia to basically help out and do some training on the Mirage 2000c. I really love this campaign. I've played through most of it already. I really do love it. If you want to see more, obviously, you can play the campaign yourself, or by all means pause the screen here or here, and you can see more of a story that's going on. But anyway, it kind of plays out as we fly anyway. We can look through a briefing here. You can see a number of things. There's not really much to note here. Good thing to note is the channels on the green and red radios, the IFF, which is 1410, and the altitudes, but we're not going to worry too much about that right now. It shows you a couple other things like your parking point on return, your runway, your initial position, etc. So we are going to jump straight in here. So the first thing to do pretty much every time you start a mission in the Mirage in DCS is pop your head down here and switch on the battery, and then swing over to the left here, and you've got your green radio here at the bottom and your red radio at the top. We can turn our red radio to PAL and G, and our green radio to PAL and G, and our red radio to whatever that is. I can't remember which one that is. M. And you'll see these are both on here.
One, this is 2, Lima Charlie, got you 5x5. 1-0. Anyone ready to go through the startup procedure?
Okay, now you have the option to go through the startup procedure if you want to. I actually don't like his startup procedure. It seems a little bit simplified, and it feels to me like they missed some things out. So we're actually going to skip that from him, and we're going to go through it.
I've done that several times now. No need to go through the whole process.
Ourselves. So the first thing we want to do here is just radio through to the ground crew, which is F8, and connect the electrical power.
Turn on the ground power. Copy.
We're also going to just close our canopy here.
Ground power is now
square
on.
Here. Lock this down. So that is our canopy closed and sealed. We now have ground power, so we're just going to go through and switch everything on. Don't exactly know the correct order to do this in, but this order doesn't seem to cause any damage. So the head-up display is on. We're going to swing down here. We're going to put our radar into warm-up mode, just so that can start going there. Let's get our lights on. So these three switches here. Taxi lights can go on as well, actually. Okay, our master arm is off. That's all fine. That's all fine, actually. Let's leave that like it is. Okay, it's working down towards our left here. Let's get our INS aligning whilst we're underground power. So on this, we're going to turn it to status. This guy we're going to set to ALN for align. And we're going to head over here and I think we can just hit nav. I'm not sure if we actually need to put in our initial position here, but we can certainly try. It's not going to let us. We just hit Val, and it's going to start counting us down for the alignment. Whilst that's going, this is going to take quite some time. As you can see, it's going to take about 5 minutes. You can look at this timer here. Whilst it's going, we're just going to get a few more things up and running here. So these can go to MM and that. We're going to set the TACAN. We're going to leave that on X, and we're going to set that to X22, and we're going to set this guy to 108.75. So this is the TACAN and the ILS for Vatsiani. It's going to be pretty useful on the return flight to the airfield. It's going to be a lot easier than working with the waypoints they've given us. Another thing we can do, just make sure the parking brake is on. If we just swing around to this side here, and we're going to put our head down here, we can do some testing of the electrical system and the hydraulic system. So we just flip that up and switch it to M, and basically we're going to wait for the green light to come on just to the right. and switch that down and cover it. We're going to switch this up to L and do the same thing. We're going to wait for that green light to come on. Fantastic, and finally we're going to switch that down to C and wait for that green light to come on. This one's normally pretty quick, so you don't need to worry too much. Beautiful. So I'm going to switch it back to the middle and guard it. And just swing around, have a look at everything, make sure everything's looking pretty good. Everything is looking pretty good as far as I'm concerned. So at this point, we basically need to wait for this countdown to complete. It's quite a long countdown, so I will be back as soon as it is done. So I'll see you guys in one moment. Okay guys, we are back and that is done. I did speed up time a little bit there as a cheat. If you want to do that, you can do Control Z and Alt Z, left Control Z and left Alt Z, just to speed up time and just speed up that alignment process. But we are now aligned, so if we just head back down to the settings here, we can set this guy to N, we can set this guy to Nav, and this guy can be set to LG. I tend to leave it on. And I think, just on kg altitude indicator, I think we're basically ready to get her started up now. So if we just pop ourselves down here, this is all our startup stuff. So we're going to switch our 2 fuel pumps on, the fuel cutoff I believe that is. This one is the starter fuel pump switch. We can switch it on, click this cover to open it. Before we do that, just going to go press this red button here, just make sure the throttle is off. And then we can hit this button here. And you can now hear us starting up. Once the RPM here on this N gauge hits 10, we're going to move our throttle forwards and then pull it back again. She's just going to take it out of idle and enable us to go the rest of the way here. So with this done, we are looking pretty much set up. We can turn our pitot heat on. I'm going to turn audio warnings on because I find audio warnings very useful. And we're also going to just flick this emergency hydraulics here. We can now go to the ground crew and just disconnect the ground electric power.
Copy.
And with that, we should see, with the exception of parking brake,
Now off.
everything's looking pretty great. So if we just want to radio through to flight lead.
2 is ready.
Let him know that. We'll just turn on the countermeasures here as
All
well.
right.
One thing I
We'll
forgot.
contact the tower and request taxi to runway. Once in the air, we will fly information towards waypoint 3. Once there, we will go through the functioning of the fly-by-wire system. Then we will go back to Basiani, where you will perform a visual circuit pattern after a direct approach. So first touch and go, then full stop landing. Let me know when you are ready to taxi.
We are indeed ready to taxi, I believe. So just get this set up here.
And 2 is ready for taxi.
Okay, so we can turn the parking brake off now. I've just got that mapped. Turn the nose wheel steering on.
Check that you are on channel 1.
And we're going to throttle up to around 40% just to get rolling.
Make sure to switch your
Put it back down to 20%.
Release the parking brake.
And just get her rolling out here.
And turn on your taxi light with the switch located on
We
the
are just
left
going to
panel. Basiani ground.
park her up here.
The 701 flight. Request taxi to runway.
Brakes off. We should not be on. Go.
Ground, runway 32 use taxi golf, Charlie Bravo, hold Troy Alpha. Runway 32 in use, taxi golf, Charlie Bravo, hold short, Alpha, Chevy 11. 1, taxi out.
Just got her around 20% throttle now, guys. You can see it bouncing around a little bit. It's just overcoming the inertia of the aircraft. There's nothing to worry about. Key thing here, as it says in the top right corner, is you have to keep your distance from this guy. If you don't, he gets very, very annoyed and stops. The only way to get him to start moving again is to pull a massive U-turn, which is a nightmare in DCS, and kind of rebuild that distance between you and him. So it's best, honestly, just to give him enough space from the get-go.
Chevy 2-1, request takeoff.
Okay, so we're going to hold her around 20% here, and just keep her on the wheel brakes just to make sure we're giving him more than enough distance up to the runway. Now it's quite a long taxi, so I'm going to see you guys once we are a little bit closer to the runway. Okay, so we're just about at the end of our very long taxi now. Once he stops at the end of this little taxiway here, we can get up as close to him as we want. And we're going to be taking off with a 10-second separation. So basically from when he starts moving, we then wait 10 seconds and we can start moving. Nice and easy. So let's just get ourselves up in here behind him.
Chevy 1-1, Chevy 2, I'm ready to continue.
Just going to quickly have a look down here. One thing we are going to do here is just going to get our IFF set up, guys. So we set this guy here to cont, and this is going to be set to 1410. I feel like everything else is looking pretty good. Just going to swing my head around here. Going to actually turn our radar on straight away here. You wouldn't actually necessarily do this in real life. In fact, you definitely wouldn't do this in real life. But I'll show you why we're going to do it here. It's just going to make something a little bit easier for us once the radar comes up. It's going to wait about 10 seconds. That's probably enough. A little bit of advice when you're taking off, guys. So we're going to be doing a rolling takeoff today. I'm pretty confident everything is already set up for the takeoff, so it's not too much of a concern. So we're just going to turn her out onto the runway here. Get her lined up down the centre line. Once we are lined up, we're going to lock our nose wheel steering and push her forward to full throttle. Now the key thing to do here, guys, is to watch him in front of you. If you're flying without labels on, which I do recommend you do, it's much more immersive. It's very important that you kind of keep eyes on him and just know where he is. Two reasons. First, it's very easy to lose him, and second, it's very easy to hit him. So we're going to go gear up here. Just going to check that it's fine, which it is, and then we're going to throttle it back to around 70%. So my little tip right now is, you can see on our TDC here, I am going to, I've got it marked as, I'm going to lock him on the TDC. Well, I'm going to lock someone on the TDC. I didn't lock him on the TDC. Right. Just watch what we're doing here. I'm just going to use the air brake just to slow us down a little bit. I was trying to lock him on the TDC. You'll see why in a moment. But we're actually coming up on him pretty fast here. Zero throttle, full air brake. Should slow us right down. Okay, we're not going to bother locking him. What you can do if you do struggle to fly formation, or you do struggle to kind of spot the guy you're meant to be flying with, is lock them up on the radar. Obviously don't do this on a multiplayer server or in real life. If you're, I mean, why the hell would you be flying fighter jets and then listening to me for advice in real life? Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, yeah, don't do it on multiplayer servers. It's really annoying against real people, but against the AI, it's a great way of keeping track of them, especially when you are flying, when you're trying to fly in formation and maybe you're a little bit out of practice with it. So pretty much the goal now is just going to be to stick with this guy, so I'll join you when something interesting happens.
2, this is 1. Alright, let's anchor here. I will climb to Angels 20 for deconfliction.
Okay, so the best way to anchor, guys, throw into quite a nice mild turn, hit your autopilot and your altitude hold here. This is a hands-free anchor. It's very useful if you want to try and test stuff out or kind of play with what he's doing.
And only if you have a maximum of 2 S-530 and 2 Magic 2 missiles and no fuel tanks or an empty fuselage tank. In all other cases, you should use the down position, charge. It limits the G's you can pull to 6 and minimizes the risk of inflicting structural damage to your airplane when maneuvering. Also, do not switch the FBW system to secondary mode unless in a real emergency. If you do so, there's a high probability that you will end up in an uncontrollable spin from which you won't be able to recover, especially if you're not flying high enough. Are there any questions at this point?
Okay, at this point you do get the opportunity to ask him a few more questions. I'm not going to bother because I have heard this many times. We're just going to go to no questions.
No questions.
Let him continue talking here.
want you to check the difference between the AA and charge mode of the FPW system. Climb to Angels 1.5 and check the limits for both positions of the switch. See how your jet behaves. Report back when you are ready to move on with your mission.
So if you do want to do this, and again, I'm not going to bother, this is the AA charger switch. We're currently in AA. If you want to mess around and see what that feels like, you can. We're not going to bother. So in a moment, we'll get the opportunity to F10 him and report that we have finished
Chevy
testing.
1-1, Chevy 2, I'm done testing and ready to continue.
This is Chevy 1-1, Roger. Most of waypoint forward and perform a visual circuit pattern. Certainly on here on the right-hand one. I will follow you and then call out terrain. Remember to keep the circuit tight. You should make it further than the auto battery of the village northeast from the runway.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to not cheat a little bit, but use something which we haven't necessarily learned about yet, which is the TACAM. So I'm going to swing down to our heading indicator here, and we're going to switch this over to TAC. And that arrow is now pointing directly towards the airfield. It's just going to make my life a little bit easier with preparing this landing. I'm now going to throttle her back to 0, and we are going to drop her nose down here. And let's just get her lined up nicely. Again, at this point, you are absolutely welcome to take advantage of the autopilot system, just by getting a nice and level, flying where you want, and hitting autopilot. And this will actually fly you, it will hold your pitch, and just fly you down. We're going to fly down to about 5,000 feet, and then level her out. And hopefully land this plane. This is the more difficult part of this mission. It certainly took me a few attempts, but I should hopefully be able to show you guys the easiest way to do it. Okay.
The business are cutting fast.
Come down to 5,000 here. I'm just going to switch our autopilot off.
267,
And
Command 31, contact.
here. Let's get our engine back up a little bit. Get her on a nice level here, and just going to hit that. Altitude here. This one might even, maybe, possibly. No, it's not going to let us do that. Sometimes you can get it to do altitude hold. It's a little bit fussy. So, nonetheless, we just kind of get it back on the level here, push on altitude. And there we go. We'll be back once again as soon as something interesting happens.
Remember that you are required to do a visual circuit pattern. I'm sure you checked the briefing and seen the diagram, but let's do a quick recap. First, perform a normal touch and go landing. Then, when you climb to around 1,000 feet AGL, make a right turn until you are perfectly aligned with the runway, but around 1.5 or 2 miles away from it. You will then make a downwind call and ask for landing clearance for a full stop. When you pass the runway and can see it at around 4-5 degree angle behind you, start making a turn for final. Before landing, make a call. Good luck.
Yeah, 2 copies.
Okay, so we're going to do this in a slightly different way to have it recommending, just because I find the waypoints in this mission a little bit off. I don't know if it's the INS alignment which is the issue, but it doesn't seem quite right. So what we're going to do is we're going to fly to probably about 8 nautical miles from the runway, and then we are going to turn onto a heading of 140 degrees, which is obviously 180 degrees away from runway 32. Once we've kind of moved away a little bit, we are going to turn left 180 degrees and hopefully be on runway heading and do our touch and go landing. So as I said, this is definitely one of the more difficult parts of this mission. Definitely kind of drops you in at the deep end, but we'll just see how it goes here. So runway should be about 10 nautical miles front of me, probably. I'm sure it is. Let's have a look at our map quickly. All seems good to us. And we're about 8 nautical miles now. I'm just going to switch off the autopilot. 7 nautical miles. You can see Sogalong off our right here, which means that there is Vatsiani there. So we're going to swing her over now. We'll start reducing our speed right down. And we're going to put her onto a runway heading of 140. Oh, sorry, the opposite heading, downwind heading of 140. We're out here at 14. Now if we just look out, we can see we are in fact flying pretty much runway heading here, reducing our speed as we go. As our speed drops below 230, we're going to drop our landing gear down. We're also keeping an eye both.
This is Chevy 11. Contact Vaziani.
Keep an eye on the runway. Let's just switch over to channel 1 here. Get our landing gear down, and we can do an F10 call to announce touch and go. Get throttle up. Always watch our speed.
Chevy 21 Vaziani, cleared for direct approach, runway 32, touch and go, report when on final.
Let's get our trim right here. Give ourselves a little bit more space than they recommend here, just because this is pretty difficult. I'm going to put her into a nice tight turn here, holding our nose up. Keep an eye on our speed as well. We can let our speed drop a little bit. Key thing here is to hold our nose up and keep an eye out here. Approach on this guy. Is our gear down? Our gear is down. I'm going to move our seat up here. Just sorry, our seat up. Just get things about right. You can see the runway there. We are about ready to turn onto final here. Let's get turning around now. So we're going to be turning onto a runway heading 320. Keep an eye on the speed. And start reducing the throttle right down. Turned ever so slightly early here, but it shouldn't be the end of the world. Nicely configured for landing here. Doing a little bit of work here just to get it straightened up.
Vaziani, Chevy 21 is on final for runway 32.
Chevy 21 Vaziani, cleared to land, runway 32, the wind is 280 degrees for 4 knots.
Still a little off centre here. We can correct that with a little bit of rudder. once we start getting a little bit closer here. And reducing our speed. Flaring around nicely. Bit of a heavy landing there, but I think we're fine. Let's drop our seat down, throttle her up. And back up in the air here. We're going to bring the throttle right back down. Gear up. Going to fly her up to about 1,000, 1,200 feet. Keeping the speed down. Okay. I'm going to throw her over into a nice tight turn here. We're flying a heading of 140, which will be our downwind leg. Watching that speed, we very nearly stalled her out there. Somewhat turned in a little bit tight there.
Chevy 21, right hand downwind requesting full stop. Chevy 21,
Yeah,
you
speed
press
right
runway
down
32,
here.
report when final.
Okay. Let's give us a little more space because it's quite a tight turn we need to do. Let's roll it right over here. See what we can do. Keep an eye on that speed. Still keeping an eye on that speed. And should be good now to level her out.
Graziani, Chevy 21 is on final
gear
for
down.
runway 32.
We are coming in exceptionally steep
Chevy
here.
21, clear to land. The wind is 280 degrees for 4 knots.
Just keeping an eye on the speed here. Okay, let's get our wheel brakes on here. And then once we drop below, once we dropped around here, get our nose wheel steering on here. Used every inch of this runway. And we can now taxi out. So if we just very quickly pull up this here, sorry, not this, if we pull up our briefing here, sorry, switching over to page 6, you can see runway 35 is there. So if we just hang a right, then hang a left, and then hang a right, we'll be in our parking spot there. Let's get that resumed. Okay, so we're going to hang a right here, making sure we don't hit that guy. Hang a left here. And I believe it's an immediate right. Okay, and you can always see the parking space because it is one surrounded by people in vehicles. Makes life a little bit easier. Just getting a nice and slow down here. Swing her out wide. And pop her into the bay here. So that was mission 1 of the Mirage 2000c campaign, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. So the landings were a little bit scrappy, but we got the job done. Yeah, fly safe, and I'll see you guys next time.